Hey, Falcons and NFL fans. Welcome to another episode of NFL Jocks and Pigskins with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb. Another great show for you today. We're going to break down the Atlanta Falcons matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tomorrow. Falcons are going to go for their first home win, true home win of the season. We're hoping that they can get that and get back to 500 also for, the third time this season. Need to string together a few wins here to get above 500. We've talked about that all season, that they haven't been above 500 in a few years, and that would be a milestone. And they're fighting for a playoff spot too. So it's a big game in addition to it being a division matchup rivalry matchup. And as always, Tom also has his picks against the spread for week 13. And we also have some prize picks suggestions as well. This video brought to you by Prize Picks, number one fantasy sports app out there, new fantasy sports app, I would say. It's really easy to use. Tom and I sign up real easy. We've been using it for a few weeks. I think Tom has used it a lot more than me, but we both would recommend it. You can pick 2 to 5 players every single week, all kinds of different sports. And when you get started, when you sign up, make sure you use the promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit. Your first deposit $50, you get $50. $100, you get $100. The match is up to $100.
Yeah, it adds a lot of fun to your Sundays. You get the kind of key on a couple players, 2 or 3 players that you pick, and as I say, all the frustration of fantasy football, all the fun and frustration of fantasy football. That's what it's that way.
Yeah. So we want to make you a part of the show as well. You can comment here, and we'll get those comments up as quickly as we can. We don't have Chris with us today, but Tom and I will be monitoring the comments as we go. Chris is doing a wedding tasting, which is exciting. I didn't get to do my wedding
tasting.
Yeah. Well, these venues now have it's included in the price, Tom. The face you're making right now is priceless. I need to take a screenshot of this face. But yeah, these venues now, they have a huge amount of food that you can order, hors d'oeuvres and different meals you can get. So included in the price, they let you taste test their food. It's a good way to get, a free meal. Obviously, yeah, that's the least they could do when you're giving them, lots of your money. You get a free meal.
Yes.
With the taste testing. Which I didn't get to do the taste testing because of COVID. We just kind of went with what we thought would be good. But I'm glad Chris is able to do his.
Yeah, chicken or fish, check 1, that kind of thing. I understand that. Because that's normally what you get with the wedding, chicken, fish, check 1, and that's pretty much it. But no, I just recently heard of cake tasting. And now you're telling me we got entire dinner tastings. That's just insane. Crazy.
Yeah. But for a big meal like a wedding, do the tasting.
Well, why not? Hey, and if you got the money for it, I mean, that works out well too. But I mean, why not have some fun with it? It's, it's a rough enough day, going through the wedding day as it is. So you might as well.
So you gotta have good food.
Yeah, you do. You really do.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a top tier wedding, you got to have good food. Middling, mid kind of that kind of food isn't going to cut it. It's just, everybody's going to forget all about the wedding and say, "My God, this food is terrible." Can't we get some better food here? Who are these cheap idiots who got married today because they don't have any good food? No, you got to have good food.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing you got to have is good decorations. Have you started decorating at all for the holiday season?
No, I haven't. I kind of wish I had, but I really haven't this year. I've been kind of busy with a lot of things, and I hate
it's still early. It's only December 4th. You still got time. I don't like decorating I don't like getting into Christmas season until December. So I'm not.
Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely.
Well, to me, I think you have plenty of time still to decorate. Whereas, somebody that wants their Christmas tree up the day after Halloween, they might say, well, you're a little bit late. I wouldn't say that. But I want to figure out a way. So I got a tree next to me right here.
Okay.
Move my camera here a little bit.
Wow. Nice.
I got to figure out a way. I don't know if I'm going to sit, further up in the room so it's behind me. I got to figure out a way to use this as the backdrop next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Sit a little bit closer and get it behind you. That should be great. That's a nice tree.
Thank you. Nice. I guess I should have thought ahead, and I don't have that many football ornaments. Could have made a football tree for our football show. It's baseball ornaments, baseball players, baseball Santa Claus.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
I still like that.
I also wanted to tell you, so I don't have many football ornaments other than Steeler players, but I do have Walter Payton on my tree.
Well, you're doing all right. That's as long as you got that covered. That's doing pretty good.
It's Steeler players, Walter Payton, and Dan Marino, because I liked Dan Marino as a kid. So
right,
and I felt like I had to get Walter Payton when they made him. But anyway, enough of our decorating and food taste testing talk. Let's get into some football. Falcons are playing a big game this week. It's so funny that I think we'll talk more about this probably next week. But we were thinking about talking about the playoffs and the races that are going on. Right. I mean, there's some craziness happening really across the league where the reason being, I think, is there's no real dominant team. And we'll talk about that from a league perspective, I think, next week. But from an Atlanta Falcons perspective, and really almost any team perspective, you can look awful for 2 to 3 weeks, and then have one decent game or one win, and it feels like you're back in the race or you're right there. And that's what the Falcons are. That's where they are right now. They had 2 horrible weeks, really 2 horrible, a horrible 5-day stretch, really.
Yeah.
And then they got that mini bye. I didn't think we'll talk about this. I didn't think they played that well last week, but they did win. They beat the Jaguars.
Right. Hey, that's what counts. And the Jaguars are a team you got to get better against.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the teams that, if you're going to say anything about playoffs, you got to get past that team. You fall to the Jaguars, you have no business talking anything about playoffs.
Right.
So
I'm just saying, going forward, do I get confidence from that win against the Jaguars? Probably not, but we can discuss. And but regardless of how you feel confidence wise, they're right there at 5-6, 1 spot out of the playoffs, 1 spot out of the 1 spot below 500, 1 game below 500.
Well, actually, 5-6, they are tied for the 7th playoff spot. The problem is,
right now they're in 8th place.
Yeah, they're in 8th place. But the Washington football team is 5-6 and are holding down the 7th, the final playoff spot at the moment.
Yeah.
Because of conference win percentage. And that's another thing you got to look at. You got to, losing games, out of conference to the AFC, it's bad. You got to win every week you can, but it's not as serious as if you lose conference games.
Right.
And if you're going to lose conference games, that's where you run into a lot of problems. And right now, the football team and the Vikings have better conference win percentage than the Falcons. So that's the problem right now for Atlanta. That's something they're going to have to overcome. But that's the thing. 5-6, they have the same record as the team that is currently holding down the last playoff spot in the NFC. So, a hot streak can go a long way to doing something for this team. The Niners are 6-5. They're not much better. I mean, it's something to see as far as the standings go this year. Nobody is jumping out and saying this. We're taking this playoff spot. Nobody's doing that yet.
Yeah. And well, I'm glad you brought up the 49ers because the Falcons play them in a few weeks. That'll be a big game for the playoffs. They don't play the Vikings, who are another team involved, but they do. They already played Washington. They played Philadelphia. So these games that were early in the season that, the Falcons players were taking the approach of, well, we got a lot more games left. And look, after a loss, you got to be positive, and that's the right approach to take. But yeah, I mean, not just for tiebreakers, because when you got 4 teams tied, you're not going to do head to head. But if the Falcons had beaten the Washington would be a game lower. Atlanta would be a game higher. If they had beaten Philly would be further back, and Atlanta would be in the playoffs right now.
Right.
So like those games really are going to come back to mean something, I think.
Yes, they are.
As the Falcons try to make a playoff push.
Yeah, they're going to mean a lot. Not having them in the win column means a lot. As I say, if you're going to lose at any point during the season, it's the non-conference schedule that you don't worry about as much.
Yeah.
These conference games, it comes down to conference records at the end, and head to head right away. But conference records at the end, you've got to put those games. You got to get those games in the win column. Washington, they should have, but
they should have.
Yeah.
The Philly game was a blowout, but they had their opportunities at the beginning of the game to go up 14-0 instead of 6-0. But let's not rehash the past September or early October. That's done with. They can only look ahead, and tomorrow they got Tampa Bay, and Marcel Smith has had 2 kind of funny comments so far. Thanks, Marcel, for commenting and watching the show today. The title of our show today, what will it take for the Falcons to upset the Buccaneers? Marcel says it'll take Jesus. And then he has a really intelligent question for us. Why can't they win at home?
That's a fantastic question, Marcel.
Yeah, I mentioned that at the top of the show. They're 0-4 at home. If you look at the standings, they say they're 1-4 at home, but that one win, of course,
one win was in London.
Was in London, yeah. Yeah, so they don't have a win at Mercedes-Benz Stadium this season. I don't think they played particularly well there last year, although they didn't play well on the road either. They had 4 wins. But it just hasn't been a very good home field advantage for the Falcons really since the stadium opened, but particularly recently. Particularly this year, they have not played well at home at all.
Yeah. And I was just looking at the schedule. It'd be nice to say that, they played some difficult competition at home, but they really haven't. As I say, they should have beaten the football team. They lost badly to the Eagles in their home opener, in their opening game. But, and they lost badly to the Patriots, but the Patriots are playing hot.
Yeah.
So you caught the Patriots at a bad time. But the Panthers and the football team you should have beaten. And it's hard to say. I don't know if they necessarily feel a lot of the home team advantage right now. It's been a rough crowd at home for the Falcons. And it'd be nice to see them with an enthusiastic crowd in the stadium for this game against Tampa Bay, and a team that a crowd that's really working behind them. It seems like they're not getting a lot of atmosphere at home like they've had in the past when this team has done more winning. And I don't know how you fix that.
Other than winning.
Well, you can't give up on your team.
Yeah.
You've got to stay behind them. Dave, he just points it out too. The Falcons have no atmosphere at home. That's why. And that I think has a lot to do with it, Dave, that you don't really get that home field atmosphere at Mercedes-Benz Stadium yet. And I think Falcons fans are enthusiastic when they do go out there. They can pull off, that a lot of noise and a lot of home field atmosphere. But you got to go out and really support the team. I know it's rough supporting this team at times. It's been frustrating, but take it from someone who follows a team that's very frustrating here in Chicago. you got to keep looking ahead, looking to the next game, and saying let's see what we can get out of this, and let's see how we can move forward, and let's keep behind our team. There are some players on this team. There are some players who deserve support. Uh, the problem is the defense has been rough this year. And I don't think it's necessarily as much the offense as the defense failing to do some of the things that they need to do, both in the secondary and pass rush. And we've been saying that all year. So I think offense causes a lot of excitement, but I think defense also causes excitement and can get a crowd rooting behind their team if you're getting some good pass rush and you're making some great plays in the secondary. I think that turns on a crowd too, and that's one of the things this team has been missing is they're not doing it on defense.
That's a fair point, and I think if that would create a better atmosphere, playing a little bit better defense, but it doesn't fill the empty seats. There are a lot of empty seats at the last couple of games, even with Patriot fans out in full force, pretty much in Atlanta for that Thursday night game a couple weeks ago. There were a lot of empty seats, and that is upsetting to see.
Yes,
I don't know why. I don't know really. I don't have an answer why the seats are so empty. It seems like there's a different excuse every week. They played on Halloween, so were kids not did they didn't want to go out to the game because it was Halloween. That was also Game 5 of the World Series. People, I don't know. I mean, the World Series wasn't going on at the same time, so it wasn't like they picked the Braves game instead of the Falcons. But maybe there were some sports fans that were like, well, I only have time for one sports game today. I'm going to do the Braves and not the Falcons. I don't know. But that's only one game, though. And there was really few people for the Thursday night game. Was the excuse? It was prime time. It's a school night. I don't know. I'm not sure. But, yeah, this team's got a problem with playing at home. And I think the crowd is a big reason. Whether they play like the Eagles game was a lot of Eagles fans. And that's discouraging for Falcons players. But then there are other games.
That was your first game. That was your opening game of the season.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. You're right. I wasn't too surprised by that because Eagle fans are very passionate. They travel. There's lots of Eagles fans everywhere. So I wasn't too surprised by that. But then, Carolina, that was the Halloween game. Yeah. Washington has a pretty popular fan base too, but a team that hasn't done a lot of winning in a while, so they're not too enthusiastic. I just didn't feel like Washington fans should take over the stadium, and they did. They kind of did, but I don't know. It just there isn't a great atmosphere, passion for the Falcons right now in the city. And Dave brings up another point. It's a transient city. There's lots of people from other places.
Yeah.
I'm an example of that. If I wasn't going as a media person, I wouldn't be going as a fan. I like the Falcons, but I'm not a Falcons fan per se. And there are lots of examples of that. And we'll see the SEC championship game played in the same stadium in Mercedes-Benz today. And lots of people are more into college football down here than the NFL and the Falcons. So I don't want to say it's like LA because LA is its own thing. There's the beach and all Hollywood, of course, but it is a little bit like that in that there are other things to do as opposed to, I don't want to put down a city like Chicago. There's lots of things to do there too, but it's just embedded in the city that you're going to go to your sports games. You're going to root for your sports team.
Sunday is Bears weekend.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's been that way since, the team came into the league. It's one of the charter members of the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
And it's had years to grow that base. And during baseball season, you have Cubs fans and you have White Sox fans, and the two don't mix as far as teams go.
Yeah.
But when football season starts, those two fan bases come together and it's all Bears fans, and that's it. And it's a very passionate base. And they get just as passionate if the Bears are losing than they do if the Bears are winning. So,
right. Yeah. And I think it's true for most of the northern cities that's the case. Pittsburgh is where I'm from. That's the same thing. Same thing. And there was lots of passion this past week. I was hoping we wouldn't bring up the 30-point loss to Cincinnati, but after that, just
that was painful.
Just that embarrassment. There was a lot of passion on Twitter. I saw it all week. A lot of the passion misplaced, wanting to fire everybody.
Right.
But there was passion. So Trey is weighing in. Hey, Trey, Falcons used to have really good home field 2008 to 2012. Those were some good Falcons teams. And I didn't get to go to the Georgia Dome, but was the Georgia Dome a better atmosphere? Was it a dome that produced a better atmosphere than Mercedes-Benz Stadium? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to say. The thing is, I've been writing about the Falcons for a couple of years, and then we've been doing the show now for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, the thing is, I do feel like Falcons fans are passionate about their team. We get a lot of feedback as far as the Falcons go. We get a lot of people watching that know we're going to talk about the Falcons. Mad Mike, one of our favorite people, has a Falcons, video cast that he's been doing for a long time. And, he gets a lot of great comments, a lot of great feedback and back and forth on that show. So I think there's a passionate base here. But when the team struggles, it seems like that base kind of gets discouraged.
Very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
But then that also plays into what I was saying. If you have other things that you can do, you have other football teams. Georgia's 12-0. You got another great football team you can watch that's an hour away.
Yeah.
You're going to spend your money on going to see them, or you're going to spend your weekend day watching them, as opposed to your relaxing Sunday. People have relaxing Saturday here where they watch football and they do yard work or whatever on Sunday. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things that it's hard to pinpoint exactly why. But it does come back to the Falcons need to put as great of a product as possible onto the field to get people out to the stadium.
Yeah, and I say I don't want to come off as blaming the fans.
Yeah,
because you do need to put a team on the field that's worthy of the fans' attention. And I feel that in every city, if you want the fans' attention, you got to put a team on the field. Mm-hmm. Don't just pretend you're putting a team on the field. Don't pretend you're putting a team on the ice or on the court or on the baseball field that you think is going to draw attention and compete, but everybody knows is it really competitive. You have to be serious about putting a team on the field. The thing is, I think the Falcons have been serious about trying to put a team on the field. They failed to put a team on the field.
Yeah.
I don't think that's from lack of trying. I think that's just for a fact that Thomas Dimitroff in his last few seasons, I don't think did a very good job. I think he did a terrible job.
Yeah.
Identifying players in the draft, identifying linemen, and identifying defensive linemen that were going to make a difference on this team, that were going to kind of grow into the core that he had put in place that made the Super Bowl. But it didn't. He wasn't able to add to the core. He wasn't able to rebuild that core and keep things going. Combination of injuries, or a few injuries too, but he failed to keep the team at a high level and player performance at a high level. He did not bring in the players that he needed to bring in. Mm-hmm. So, whether that's a failure of scouting, or his failure as far as evaluation, but I do feel Atlanta Falcons have tried to put that team on the field. I think the ownership wants a competitive team on the field. They Dimitroff missed. Now you got to give Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith a year to try to, you got to give them a little bit of time to try and reverse the trend that they've been in as far as trying to get some of the dead weight back off this team and putting some young talent back in place, to compete again. But and that's I think one of the things. But I don't think the team deserves to be uh, to face indifference because they're losing. I think they have tried to be competitive, but they failed at it. But still have faith in the fact that they are trying to do what they can do.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because I want to talk about the matchup this weekend. But I think I brought this up last week, and I think it's important. It might have been a disservice for this general management, this new front office to say, we're not rebuilding.
Yeah,
That we're going to try and win now. And when the season started 0-2, that really turned people off. That, oh, you think so? We're trying to win, and we're not winning. I think if they would have gone into the approach saying, hey, be patient. We are going to rebuild. Maybe that's a hard message to sell with Matt Ryan as quarterback. I get it. But that's really what's going on here. They're not really like we were putting a positive spin on it this past summer, hopeful that with an extra playoff spot and a pretty easy schedule that they would be able to reload and make the playoffs, and maybe they will. They have the opportunity to. But are they a realistic Super Bowl contender right now, even if they make the 7th spot? No. And I think it would have been a little bit better if the ownership doesn't outright say that, of course, but if they would have said, hey, we are going to start building something here with this new group, and it's going to take a little bit of time. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe people don't show up in week 3 or whatever the next home game was after the Eagles game, regardless. But I did feel like that might have turned some people off. That, oh, we're trying to win. We're putting our chips into this season, not building for the future, and we're still not winning.
I think that's a great point, Dave. That really is. You may have hit it right on the head. Is you kind of raised fans' expectations, and all of a sudden, this was not a team capable of meeting those expectations. And I think fans kind of knew that this team wasn't as capable of meeting those expectations too. Mm-hmm. And that could be a problem. Is you didn't sell it well enough to convince the fans that this was going to be the case. That this was a team that could do it.
A couple more comments that I want to get to. Dave brought up PSL, and I believe I'm not up on the lingo, Dave. I believe he means personal seat licenses.
Personal seat licenses, yeah.
Yeah, that is a big issue. I don't know a whole lot about them. I've never been a season ticket holder for an NFL team, but from what I understand, every NFL team has those, and not every NFL team has empty seats like the Falcons do. So,
every team with a new stadium, basically, they sell seats, and I'm not as up to speed on what that means to buy a personal seat license. I think
you have to pay to have the right to pay for the seat.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what it boils down to. Yes,
which is ridiculous. You should just be able to buy the seat.
I know,
but it's like Spirit. Spirit does that, right? You buy your seat, you buy a ticket, you buy the ticket, and then when you choose your seat, you're like, well, this seat costs this much. I already bought my ticket. Why am I? It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Marcel said, another comment from him. He brought up that they don't have that core weapons that they were hoping to have at the beginning of the season. Trade away Julio, Ridley is out, obviously. Patterson has been banged up a little bit. That's true. I think that's a good point. And that's one thing I wanted to bring up about the Jaguars matchup. Yeah, they did beat the Jaguars, and that's a game they have to win to stay in it. But I just couldn't help but asking myself, because Patterson had missed the previous like 7 quarters, and he was obviously not 100% last week. So he was playing injured, and I think he felt like he had to play injured or his team wasn't going to win. And that just made me think, like, what would this game have looked like if Patterson wasn't playing? And we brought this up before. Patterson he's not supposed to be like this all-pro running back for this
Right.
team. He's becoming that, and that's fantastic. That's great. But he's supposed to be the, extra that you had on your offense, not supposed to be your whole offense.
Right.
And that's what he's the whole offense.
Yeah, he's supposed to be that complementary piece, that guy we put in to make something happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. He's not supposed to be the entire offense. And that thing going into the season, if you told me that Cordarrelle Patterson was going to be the entire offense, I really would have questioned this season right from that point.
Right. And he's having a fantastic year. I never would have guessed that Patterson would have produced this much yardage, doing all the things that he does. And he's running between the tackles successfully, and he's never done that before. I mean, he's tried to do it before. Tried it, and it has not gone well.
No, the Bears tried running him between the tackles when they had him for 2 seasons, and he was not able to do that.
Yeah. And he's doing it behind honestly, a below average, bad offensive line too.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Incredible. He's having an incredible season. I don't mean to diminish that.
Just Cordarrelle Patterson has a lot of heart. I mean, the guy plays his butt off. He really does. He has a lot of heart. He cares.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you need more of that in your lineup somewhere. And Patterson has to be the kind of guy who goes out and creates a lot more problems for the defense, not the guy that the defense is going to say, okay, here's Patterson. Let's, we got to shut him down to shut down the Falcons offense. No, that can't be the case.
Yeah. And so looking at this matchup with Tampa Bay, does Tampa Bay simply say, if we take care of Patterson, we're going to win this game by 3 touchdowns?
I think Tampa Bay's probably saying that. Because really, how are they going to move the ball against Tampa Bay? You still don't have Ridley. Zacchaeus has been playing fairly well lately.
Yeah.
But you got Zacchaeus, Patterson, Mike Davis has been having problems running the ball because he's not getting any space, beyond the line of scrimmage. Where's the offense going to come from? That's what I always like to say is, where is this offense going to come from?
Yeah. I know. And it seems like teams have been doubling Pitts since Ridley left.
Right.
And he hasn't been as productive the last month.
Yeah.
Patterson has continued to produce when he's been in there. Maybe you simply say, if you're Tampa Bay, all right, we'll give Patterson his yards, and we're going to take away Pitts, like the teams have done the last few weeks. Or do you try to take away Patterson and you go one-on-one with the rookie? Those are really the 2 guys that you got to be concerned about. And I like Zacchaeus. I do. Russell Gage is a nice wide receiver, but those are not guys that you're worried about.
No, they're not.
Defenses.
No, they're not. You man up on them, and that's it. You're paying attention to Pitts and Patterson. Mm-hmm. And the last couple of weeks, they've been playing Pitts, front and back, kind of layering the coverage against him, and Ryan's been having problems getting the ball to him.
That too, yeah.
So, they've changed the way that they cover Pitts in the secondary, is keeping the safety back and keeping the corner, keeping either the linebacker or corner in front of him, and it makes it tough for Ryan to find him. He hasn't had as many open looks as he had earlier in the season. So that's something that the Falcons are going to have to do as far as coaching-wise, to try and disrupt what an opposing defense is going to do. But again, you got to have other weapons too to be able to try and create a disruption somewhere. And I don't know where those weapons are right now.
Larry Orange weighing in. Davis has been a disappointment. Yeah, I don't want to blame it all on him, but yeah, he's been. I was hopeful. I thought he would be what Patterson is, to be honest. I thought he would be your all-purpose back, catching passes and running between the tackles. He runs hard, but he's getting hit a lot and not breaking all of those tackles. William Amy weighing in, wide receiver need to step up outside of Kyle Pitts. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To get that double team away from Pitts.
Russell Gage and Tajay Sharp have to do something. Something has got to come from them. Either that or Ryan has to look at them more. Is Ryan targeting them, or is he still trying to target Pitts out there? Because it seems like Ryan's check down sometimes is more Hayden Hurst than another wide receiver.
Hayden Hurst isn't even out there now, so
yeah. So it's rough to say. Who else is Ryan going to target? He's been targeting Zacchaeus more than we thought he would early in the season. I thought Zacchaeus was going to be more of a complementary piece in the wide receiver group, somebody who could stretch secondaries, guy with speed who can stretch secondaries. The problem is if you run Zacchaeus deep, you got to give Ryan time to be able to find him. So, Dave, quarterback is staring these guys down. I'm not so sure, but you got Matt Ryan is been such a how long has he been in the league now?
Long time, 14 years.
He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Ryan has been successful, whatever he's doing. He doesn't stare receivers down. He's always been the kind of guy who can find receivers. Now, he might be staring receivers down a little bit more this year because he just doesn't have them. And that could be a problem. That might be a problem for him this year, but he doesn't have the targets. He can't go to Ridley and then check down to Pitts, or go to Pitts and check down. 14 years. But, this is a guy who knows everything about playing quarterback, knows how to look a safety off his receiver. But, you got to have guys he can check down to or check up to, and say, with Julio Jones, he can look Jones deep and then check down to Ridley. He doesn't have that guy he can check down to right now. So maybe he is concentrating more on receivers and saying, let me see if he does come open. Let me see if Pitts does come open somehow downfield. That might be the case. But
I wanted to make a point about Pitts. I mean, since he had his back-to-back 100-yard receiving games, first time a rookie tight end had done that in like 50 years. And then since then, he's had 3 games below 30 receiving yards. And in total in those 5 games since the back-to-back 100-yard weeks, 190 yards total in 5 games.
Right.
So I think it's a combination of what you and Dave are saying. I mean, I think Ryan probably is looking to feed the ball too much to Pitts, but why would you not want to do that? I mean, Pitts is such a talented guy. They're trying really, really hard to get the ball to their best weapon down the field right now. And that's Pitts.
But then again, you got to take into account that they are defending Pitts differently.
Right. Yes. Now, so, I mean, Ryan needs to adjust to that too and try to get other guys involved. And hopefully, when that happens, the coverage softens on Pitts.
Right.
And we're talking about all these things that Matt Ryan needs to do. Dave brings it up in his latest comment. Matt Ryan needs to do all these things. Look at this guy, check down here, look deep. He's doing it behind a below average offensive line.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of what comes down to.
Terrible offensive line. And that's one of the building blocks of your offense is you got to have a strong line. That's you got to use the draft to build your line. You're not going to find linemen in free agency. All the good offensive linemen are being held onto by their teams. They get extensions. If you're finding offensive linemen sitting out there free agency, it's because there's a reason for that, because they're not doing the job. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to find these guys in free agency. You might find one pearl somewhere, that actually does come through for you. But overall, if you're not drafting them, you're not getting them. You're not playing them. So that's one thing where the Falcons have faltered the last couple of years is drafting these guys, and they've done a terrible job drafting these guys.
A few more comments, then we're going to move to your picks, Tom. Dave bringing up that the Cowboys and Patriots played man against Pitts. So did the Panthers with Gilmore, and that was really the beginning of the, I don't know, do you want to call it a slump? The beginning of the downward production for Pitts, and that also aligns with Ridley not being there too. So I mean, it's a
combination. They're also playing a safety behind Pitts too. They are keeping the guy behind Pitts just in case he does break through or gets past that first man. They have had kind of front and back coverage against Pitts. So
William adding something that we talk about all the time. Got to score touchdowns. Can't kick field goals.
Yes.
Tom Brady is going to be scoring touchdowns tomorrow. The Falcons cannot settle for field goals.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean to go for it on 4th and 7, though.
Right.
Gonna make that clear. Do not go for 4th and 7 in the first quarter.
At times, right. You got to take that. You got to go ahead and take those 3 points. But yeah, when you get in the red zone, you've got to get that. You've got to get that touchdown. Mm-hmm. You cannot get into the red zone and then settle for a field goal. It kills you, and you're never going to be able to get past that. You've got to get touchdowns, because I guarantee you, Tampa Bay is going to get touchdowns when they get in the red zone. So William, that is a fantastic. Or who?
That was William.
William made the point. William, that's an excellent point. You're right. And Dave and I have been talking about that all year. When it seems, and especially first drives, opening drives, first to second drives, the Falcons do a good job of moving the ball, but they can't get the ball in the end zone. They're settling for field goals once they get within red zone. So, they've got to find a way to get the ball in the end zone in those situations, and that will get them off to a fast start, and that changes the complexion of the game. That changes what a team is going to do against you.
What's the line in this game?
I will check that for you real quick, because I do have it called up here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are favored by 10.5 points.
All right, so this would be a big upset.
Yes.
If the Falcons win.
It would be a big upset if the Falcons win, right.
And in order for big upsets to happen, I always say you got to win the turnover margin and maybe score on special teams. Because if you look at Falcons offense versus Buccaneers defense, and then vice versa, it's a mismatch. And that's why the line is 10.5 points. But in order to win a game like this, I mean, you'd love to see the home crowd get involved, but you got to win. You got to have more possessions, got to have better red zone efficiency, and win special teams. Have special teams create field position for you, or even score a touchdown.
And that's been one of the problems with the Falcons is they don't get positive field position. They don't get good field position to start drives. They're constantly having to drive 70, 75 yards, 80 yards to score. And you're not going to win many games that way. You've got to be able to cut the field. You've got to create some turnovers. You've got to have your special teams make some plays that get you closer to the end zone. That means you only have to drive 50 yards, 55 yards. Mm-hmm. It makes a huge difference. It really does. If you look at the stats, as far as the length of drive and how many yards a team has to drive to score the equivalent to 1 point, it makes a huge difference as far as field position, getting guys into that kind of field position.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So it'll be a tough one, but I hope that the Falcons can at least keep this competitive. I know that close but no cigar isn't really a good thing in the NFL, but in terms of, this Falcons team really struggled, obviously, against the Cowboys and Patriots, and I just would like to go to a home game that at least you leave feeling good about the Falcons, even if it's a loss. I just want to leave the stadium tomorrow feeling good about where the Falcons are.
I agree with you. Right, exactly. That's you got to have that. Because you're right. We've come off two very terrible losses. That game against the Cowboys, they were never competitive, and they just couldn't figure things out against the Patriots. Well, a lot of teams can't figure things out against the Patriots lately. But, yeah, I mean, it's rough. You can do this if you can compete tough against Tampa Bay. Then you got something positive you can point to for the rest of the season.
Right.
But it's really the only real tough team you got coming up for the rest of the year is Buffalo.
Right. So yeah, it's a game that, of course, you want to win, but it's not a game that you were expecting to win before the season started. It's not a game that you're expecting to win going into the game. I'm talking about from a fan perspective. So if you lose, it's not a big deal, but how much you lose by, how you look, or if you blow a lead, that those things matter for the fan base and putting people in the seats and how we feel about the Falcons during the last 5 weeks.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I want to get to your picks. You got against the spread here for week 13. Give us your best 3 picks, and then we want your prize picks selections as well. This video brought to you by Prize Picks, an up-and-coming fantasy sports app. Sign up today. Use our promo code ASU. You get a 100% deposit match, or I should say 100% match on your first deposit when you sign up. But use that promo code ASU for Atlanta Sports Unlimited.
Yep. Before we get into my picks, one thing I do want to bring up happened last night, was announced this morning. Claude Humphrey, who longtime defensive end for the Falcons, played his final 3 years with the Eagles. Claude Humphrey passed away last night, and very sad to see. We lost another great defensive lineman earlier in the week, Curly Culp, but Claude Humphrey, one of the Falcons' own, one of your player who played his heart out for the Falcons for many years, tops the Falcons sack list by about 30 sacks over the guy in second place. I mean, this is a guy who, brought pressure. He was the 3rd overall pick in the 1968 draft. Again, went into the Hall of Fame in 2014. And I looked up that draft, tell you the truth. There was unbelievable how many Hall of Famers were chosen in that draft. Elvin Bethea, Art Shell, Ron Yeri, tight end Charlie Sanders, then Curly Culp, Larry Zonka, and Ken Stabler all came out in that 1968 draft.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Draft.
Monster draft. But, yeah, he's the 3rd overall pick and well worth the 3rd overall pick. And, boy, it would be great. I would love to see the Falcons come up with somebody with just half the passion that Claude Humphrey had playing the game. And it's really sad news for Atlanta fans this morning, for NFL fans this morning, that Claude Humphrey passed away.
Yeah. Yeah. And we send out our condolences to his family, his friends, and the Falcons organization. I'm sure they'll have some kind of memorial service for him tomorrow. Yeah,
that would be great to see. Really would. He should be recognized. Larry Orange. I love Claude Humphrey. I hate to hear that. Yeah. He was a quarterback's nightmare. He really was. 10.5 sacks his first season. So this is a guy who brought it right from the beginning. It was sad to see this morning. I saw the Pro Football Hall of Fame put out an announcement. So, but yeah, let's get to the picks. We got some picks. I got your picks right here. To start with, Arizona Cardinals are favored by 7.5 points over the Chicago Bears. Hate to do this. The Bears are not coming within 7.5 points of the Arizona Cardinals. Especially if Kyler Murray and Deshaun Jackson come back this week.
Yeah.
And I still say, with Kyler Murray and Deshaun Jackson in the lineup, the Arizona Cardinals are the best team in the NFC.
You mean DeAndre Hopkins, right?
DeAndre Hopkins, yes. Didn't I say, who did I say Hopkins?
I thought you said Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. Wow. I told you I've been sick for a couple of days this week. It's, yeah, catching up to the.
I thought I missed something that Jackson
No.
Cardinals.
No. So, take Arizona. I don't care if it's Kyler Murray. I don't care if it's Colt McCoy. I don't care if it's Arthur Murray. I don't care if it's Dr. Leonard McCoy. I don't care who quarterbacks for Arizona. -7.5 is a great spread. You got to take those spreads when they're presented to you. Miami -6 against New York Giants. New York Giants came out and won last week against the Eagles, which frustrated me because I thought I had a handle on the Eagles team.
You weren't the only one singing the praises of the Eagles last week. There were a lot of media people saying the Eagles have figured it out. They're making a push for the playoffs, and then boom, they were just.
I spent weeks feeling that the Eagles, I was writing it week after week, www.footballfromatozz.com.
Yeah, check that out.
I spent weeks writing. Look at some of my earlier Nostradamus Predicts articles that the Eagles were overrated. And I was saying that, and then all of a sudden it looked like the Eagles were getting it together. And the Eagles have figured it out with their run game and how to incorporate their run game with Jalen Hurts. I was thinking, okay, they figured something out here. And they go out and lay an egg against the New York Giants. But the Giants are going to be starting Mike Lennon at quarterback this week. That is not a good thing.
That is not
for
good.
Anybody.
That is not good.
No, you are not doing well when you have to start Mike Lennon.
What is Mike Lennon's prize picks over under for passing yards?
Good question. Let's get that real quick. Passing yards, Mike Lennon, 190.5.
All right.
I say that's optimistic. Especially, I'm very optimistic. Especially since Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard are supposed to be out too.
Right. Yeah.
Kadarius Toney is a hell of a wide receiver. He needs a quarterback to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. But it's unfortunate. But Mike Lennon, 190.5. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to get there. So it's unfortunately Eagles Bubba Gump fool's gold. I'm telling you, Bubba, I have to agree with you there because I really thought the Eagles should have taken the Giants last week, and I got burned. So take the Miami. Miami's defense is playing very well. All of a sudden, Miami's defense is playing like they did last year. And they put Miami back into playoff contention after it looked like Miami was falling completely out of the AFC race. So don't turn your back on Miami yet. Rams -13 against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are the cure for what ails your team. The Rams have lost 3 straight. Last 2 against playoff teams. They're having a rough time. They should be able to beat the Jaguars by 13. The Jaguars, I think I read in their last 4 games, only 3 touchdowns have come outside of garbage time. So,
wow,
it's really something. This is a team that does not play well, does not score well. Trevor Lawrence is having a hell of a time on offense for Jacksonville. So part of that, I think, Urban Meyer, and boy, I think there's going to be some schools for Urban. There's going to be clamoring for Urban Meyer pretty soon.
Yeah. Oh boy, it was quite a week for college football.
That was the fact that Kelly from Notre Dame to LSU.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe that one. That one came out of left field.
I know. I couldn't believe it either.
It's surprising because Notre Dame used to be the school that you retired from. It wasn't a transition school.
I know. And
this is the school that you strived for, that once you got to Notre Dame, you had made it. And you retired as Notre Dame coach. So
I don't want to eat up too much of our, fans' time talking college.
Dave. We lost Dave for a little bit. No, we don't want to eat up too much of our fans' time talking college football. Uh, Definitely not, because you know I know all of you fans who are following college football know about Georgia and are following Georgia and know about the SEC. So we're not going to take our time with that. So I got the Rams -13 versus the Jags, Miami -6 against the Giants, and Arizona -7.5. As I say, I don't care who's playing quarterback for Arizona. Bears are not going to come within 7.5 points in that game. So take them, and I feel very confident about those picks this week. So go with them. Hey, we got Dave back. All right.
I'm sorry. I plugged in my computer right at 1%, and I thought, oh, I'm good. I just made it, and it died as soon as I plugged it in. So, my bad.
So yeah, I got this off.
But I was going to say I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on college football, but I could not believe Brian Kelly wanted to leave Notre Dame for LSU. I don't know. I don't think that's going to work out for anybody, honestly.
All of a sudden, he has a Southern accent too now.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. But I guess what I'll say is, it's like where I grew up, we're from the same place. And I was saying this before, that things are different in the Northeast versus the Southeast. And like in the Northeast, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, those are I think Penn State's probably a little bit lower than those other three. But those three that's the cream of the crop. You coach any
destination schools. Yeah.
Yeah. You coach any of those schools, you play at any of those schools, like that, those are the places to be. And it's just different down here. I don't think Brian Kelly's from the South. So I don't know why he feels like LSU is a better place than Notre Dame. Is it easier to recruit at LSU? Because I don't want to put anybody down school-wise, but LSU is not as prestigious of an academic school as Notre Dame. So is it easier to get football kids in there than Notre Dame? Is it easier recruiting? I don't know. But Notre Dame's putting up the money for their college football program, just like LSU is. LSU, yeah, you're in the prestigious SEC, but you got a much harder schedule to get to college.
And one of the tough teams you got to play in the SEC.
You're playing Alabama, and then you're going to have Texas, Oklahoma added in there in a few years. Notre Dame, you get to play whoever you want. If you're undefeated, you're in the playoff. Real easy. You don't even have to win a conference championship game. Notre Dame has it great. Why do they not join a conference? We ask this every year. Because they don't need to. They have a TV contract, so they get all the money they want, and then they don't need to be in a conference to get in the playoff. If they're undefeated, no one questions their schedule. It's Notre Dame, they're in.
Notre Dame, right. It's just the name. The name does it. That's the thing. But, I don't know. I think Brian Kelly has really kicked himself in the, behind, with this move. But, it's unfortunate. It's too bad. Well, hey,
but
it's his problem.
Let's get back to your picks, though. We got a few more minutes.
All right. As I say, I gave the 3 football picks. Arizona -7.5, Rams -13, Miami -6. So I'm very confident about those. Go ahead and take those. As far as prize picks this week, Leonard Fournette, 59.5 rushing yards against the Atlanta Falcons. Sorry, guys. The Falcons cannot stop the run, and I think the Buccaneers are going to be doing a lot of running. They're going to be shortening this game quite a bit with their running game. Yeah, they don't have Antonio Brown out there this week. They got a couple other outstanding receivers. They're not.
They haven't had Brown for a while. He's been injured.
Yeah, well, now he got caught with a fake COVID card, so, idiot. So, some people are just, get the damn shot. It's not that easy. I got my booster this last week. It's not that bad. Nothing to be afraid of. All right. So,
but all that aside, you can't lie about getting the shot.
No.
If you don't want the shot, that's your right. We might not agree with it, but that's your right. But don't lie about getting the shot. Don't make up a card. Gee.
Right. So, but I think Leonard Fournette's going to be doing quite a bit on the ground against the Falcons. The Falcons have problems against the run game. That's the way it is. I think 59.5 is a low total for his rushing yards. Joe Mixon, 86 and a half rushing yards this week against the Chargers. Mixon has been averaging 24 carries and 144 yards his last 2 games. And the problem with the Chargers has not been their offense with Herbert at quarterback. The problem with the Chargers has been their defense. They can't get off the field.
Yeah.
And I think
a lot of really the only game where they gave up more passing yards than rushing yards was that Steelers game a few weeks ago. They give up rushing yards because they don't want to give up passing yards. So they're going to give up probably a lot of yards to Joe Mixon, who's just ate up Steelers last week.
So I say Joe Mixon, 86 and a half yards against the Chargers, is very doable. Because as I say, the key to the teams beating the Chargers these days has been cutting down the number of possessions that Justin Herbert gets as the quarterback, behind the Chargers offense. Mm-hmm. And that's been a problem for the Chargers, is their defense cannot get off the field. So go ahead and take Mixon, 86 and a half. Marquise Brown, 59 and a half receiving yards versus the Steelers this week. I would take that as the over 56 and a half receiving yards for Marquise Brown against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Take the over for Lamar Jackson. Take the over for Devontae Freeman, their running back. Now, just take the over on all of them.
Take the over on all of them.
Take it over.
Mark Andrews, over. Tight end, over. Yeah, I would say so. I kind of like all of that. So I'm feeling very good about those 3 players that I just picked as far as prize picks. So if you want to take advantage of what I just gave you, sign up for Prize Picks. Go to Prize Picks. They'll match $100 of your first deposit, up to $100 of your first deposit. So free money. And it's a great way to watch football on Sundays, along with your fantasy teams, along with your football, pick pools. Because I know everybody is in a pick 'em or something like that. It's just another thing to ramp up your Sundays. So it's fun to play.
And just remember that promo code ASU. I don't think that's on our banner down here, but download the app, use the promo code ASU.
Yep, that's how you get the match. Use promo code ASU.
Well, thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoy your prize pick selections. Enjoy the Falcons playing the Buccaneers. 1:00 tomorrow. I'll be at the game. Check out my content at si.com/NFL/Falcons. Check out Tom's website, footballatoz.com. And follow us on Twitter at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb. We loved having all of your comments today. Hope you join us again next Saturday at noon Eastern time.
Absolutely. Have a great week, everyone.